This is episode number 21 of the Feed Me, Fuel Me podcast with our special guest, Molly Suhadolnik. Welcome to the Feed Me, Fuel Me podcast. My name is Jeff Thornton, alongside my co-host, Michael Anders. Each week, we bring you an inspiring person or message related to our four pillars of success: manifestation, business, fitness, and nutrition. Thank you for allowing us to join you on your journey. Now let's get started.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Episode 21, Feed Me, Fuel Me. Durs and Jeff in the building with our special guest, Molly of CrossFit Instinct, all the way from Springfield, Illinois.
Yep.
Appreciate you making it on the show on such short notice. Today, we're going to talk about what we look for in coaches, both as gym owners and as athletes, because we feel like a lot of the qualities that go into the people that take care of your members and the people that would provide you with what you'd consider quality programming are almost one and the same, synergistic at best. But first, let's talk about your road to Instinct and how all that went down and everything that you guys got going on back in the Midwest. And,
sure.
Yeah.
I've been a personal trainer for, I think, 14 or 15 years now. And that just started my whole interest in CrossFit, came across that. I've been CrossFitting since the end of 2008. And my fiance and I both started it back then together and fell in love with it. Started training our clients. He was a personal trainer as well. They were kind of our guinea pigs. They all loved it. The group kept growing, and then we eventually opened our affiliate in 2010, and the rest is history. It's still going strong, and we love it every day. So
okay.
Nice.
Awesome. One thing that you would do different up to this point?
Oh, man. That's hard to say because I feel like we wouldn't be where we're at right now if I would change anything because we've learned so much from everything that we've done. So,
what could you have done better?
Man, these are tough questions. Probably just being more open to everyone initially, where, now we have a lot of older clients. We've got kids. We've got a little bit of everyone. Where initially we were just dealing with probably the 20-somethings and 30-somethings, and we've really expanded our horizons, and that's been really great for us, especially we have a longevity program, which is just a 55 and up class.
Okay.
And that's been huge for our gym, and we've really seen that program blossom, and I think if we could have focused on that sooner, that would have really been a great thing for us.
Okay.
So maybe just expanding that with as far as clientele and how that goes, and getting into a little bit of everyone instead of just the.
Well, speaking of the longevity program, your dad was featured on HQ, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
I think there's been 2 videos out so far, and I believe they said there might be up to 6 total. Okay. So we're still kind of just waiting for when the rest of those are going to come out. But yeah, HQ came to our gym for a week, and just they had a videographer there and a journalist there, and hung out with us and got clips of a little bit of everything, interviewed us all, and that was really fun. And they told us ahead of time. They just told us when they were coming. That was about it. And they just said, don't change anything.
Okay.
We just want to get you guys in your natural element. So we just did everything like normal. And that was a really good time. And it's been fun to see everything come out, because you always wonder if they're going to change it to where the way that they want it to come out, or the way that they think the public wants it. And it was totally raw.
Okay.
That's cool.
So nothing was exaggerated, nothing was downplayed. It was just spot on how it really is and how my dad really is. So that's awesome. Really fun to see.
How old is your dad?
He's 73.
And still crushing it.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's got abs. His has veinier arms than anyone I know. He's still deadlifting in the 400s. It's awesome.
He's a rock star.
Yeah, he is. He's definitely inspiring.
Well, that just speaks to everything that, we preach day in and day out is, this style of training in particular doesn't have to stop.
No.
past 40.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Your father is a testament that you can keep going.
Oh yeah. And he started, I mean, close to when I did. I made him start.
Right.
And he totally is transformed. He was always in great shape. He was a football player, you know, and always power lifted, but he realized he was really lacking a lot of flexibility and mobility and variation in his training. You know, had a hard time even doing a burpee, and he just, as an athlete, former athlete, you know, that killed him. So he wanted to master those things, and he looks great. I mean, his posture's improved, his mobility's so much better, and he's so healthy too. I mean,
love it.
We have a doctor at our gym who's in our longevity program, and he just got an in-body machine, which is probably the next step under a DEXA and a bod pod as far as body composition goes. And my dad's under 10% body fat, all muscle mass. You know, he weighs around probably 225, 230, you know, and just
he's
a
not,
lean
not
machine.
Small.
No, he's a big dude. So it's just been really cool to see that, and so inspiring, you know, and that's what's been great about having him on our staff too, is it's sometimes been harder, especially when we were younger, first starting out in our early 20s, to get older adults to listen to us and take our advice. And there's no excuse now. You know, he's 73, killing it, and they come in and try to give some excuse about their age or their fitness level, and it doesn't work with him.
That's interesting.
That's awesome.
That's interesting.
Well, I mean, that kind of just straight up segues into what we want to talk about today, because a lot of, you know, one of the defining characteristics of a good coach is the ability to inspire. And, you know, let's talk about what you look for in terms of the people that take care of your people first, and then we'll dive into what you look for in somebody that takes care of you from a coaching perspective. But as a business owner, you know, you can't coach every single class and expect to expand your business simultaneously. Like you can only commit to one or the other over the long term. You know, so when it comes to, and I'm sure you've been through the ups and downs of hiring and firing over the years, but what are the things that makes a coach stick?
I think probably the number one thing is leading by example and walking the walk, talking the talk. Because if that doesn't match up, it's hard for people to really trust you and listen to you. So that's been a huge thing, is making sure that our staff is on point with their nutrition, their training, you know. And then continuing education is always great to keep learning. And we went to the CrossFit Level 2 certification, and they just really did a great job of talking about, you know, what you need as far as being a coach. And I think being relentless was one thing they drilled in our head, which was great, you know, just not letting things slide, and people appreciate that. Initially they might not, but long term that really helps people out. And like you were saying, I think motivate, inspire, and then educate is another thing. So I think, I mean, that was kind of 5 or 6 things I threw at you, but
no doubt.
There's a lot of qualities we look for.
Well, it's funny because I had a kid come in as a potential intern, and as we're sitting there in our initial interview, I'm like, what is it about you that makes you think you'll be a good coach? And he says, well, you know, I know how to be loud and you know, bring energy to the room. I'm like, that's cool. But you know, that's cool for a class, assuming that everybody knows what the hell they're doing, which we all know isn't always the case. So there's a little more to it than that. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
There's some tools that you need to add to your repertoire there. And you know, on the other side of that, you know, you get these people that, you know everything, you know, can write the most amazing workout programs and, you know, understand periodization and stuff like that. But it's like talking to a wall. You know, so I think first and foremost, you have to be a people person. And you have to genuinely care about people. You know, I think that if that's not in you, you know, there's still a place for you in the fitness industry,
right?
But it might be behind, you know, the screen of a laptop, you know, in the online prescription space where you don't have that, you know, that personalization that comes with the class experience or the one-on-one experience day in and day out, you know, because it's like, you know, you've heard it before where it's like, man, so-and-so really knows their shit, but I can't follow them. You know, and that makes things super tough.
Yeah. You have to be able to communicate with people. And I think you've got to make sure that every single person in class feels like they got attention from you, that they got something from you that class. I never want someone to leave feeling like I didn't notice them or I didn't, you know what was going on with them that day. And I think that's a big piece to it too.
What would you say your average athlete to coach ratio is?
As far as class by class or just overall?
Like average across the day.
We in our longevity class, we have 2 coaches there. It's always my dad and then either myself or Tim. And those classes we go anywhere from 10 to 20 people in those classes. And then our regular class, it depends on the day. There's such an ebb and flow, but I'd say anywhere from maybe 8 to 15 around there. And those we just have one coach with. So it's, and we have a really tight-knit community. We have slow growth, which is a good thing because we really get close to all of our members. We know so much about each member, and that's a lot of fun.
Is it a requirement of you guys from the top down, regardless of what your individual pursuits are as far as fitness is concerned, at some point, at least once a week, that you take each other's classes and participate in what you prescribe with your members?
We don't, but it happens anyways.
Okay.
We don't require it, but they do it anyways. So it's really great, and we see each other a lot. I mean, we really have, it's mainly just a group of about 6 of us right now, and we see each other
on your staff. Okay.
Yeah, and we've got a couple others that help out too, but that's kind of the bulk of our coaches right now, and we see each other almost every single day, besides maybe on Sunday. But so we really keep touch base with each other all the time, and are exposed to each other's coaching and teaching a lot.
Awesome.
Nice.
So.
And do you find a lot of value in maintaining the size of your classes where it's smaller, where you can pay more attention to your members?
Yes.
Or instead of expanding to, like, I used to go to some gyms, they're so packed where they can't even move around.
Yeah. And I think that's something we've had the opportunity to chase is expanding to a huge facility where we could grow the classes to 30 people per class, but it's just not the same. And I think for Tim and I, we've both come from a personal training background, so we like that intimacy with people. And so what we usually do is add more class times so that those classes stay small. And once it starts to continuously get over 15, that's when it becomes an issue. And we try to resolve that in one way or another, because it is, I think, a big advantage to have those smaller classes. And some gyms, and not that I'm bashing gyms that have bigger classes, that's just not our style.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, because the Durs and I've gone back and forth on this, because even gyms in this area, you know, not naming names, but it's like I've seen a lot of people navigate towards the CrossFit PHX brand or gym because the size of the class is the intimacy. And you've heard it. People have gone to gyms where they said, you know, we can't even do simple pull-ups or push-ups because the classes are so packed and we don't have the individual focus.
Yeah.
And I just think, like, especially to see how your gyms are sort of similar in that way of staying compact and not accepting everybody. It's more of like, if you fit in our culture, we're welcome to have you, but we're not necessarily doing the Groupon method of come on, come all, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's pretty valuable.
Yeah, I really enjoy that. And I think, you know, we have such a strong community, and are good friends with all of our members too. And I feel like if the classes get so big, you just don't have that anymore. And I think people really value that. I know we do as coaches. And, you know, it's nice because people will come up and we'll have, a back squat at 85% and they'll have no idea what their max is, but we know what it is, and they're just amazed that we know it. But it's like, if we have a class of 30 people, I can't remember all that. I'm not going to be able, and that's really cool to have cool. That. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Going back to, kind of what you opened with in terms of educating, it's really hard to impart that quality instruction in such a massive model. You know what I mean? Not to mention, on the programming side, it really limits the versatility of your programming.
For sure.
Because, you only have so much equipment to allocate, and then if not every single person in that room knows, what they're doing, or you have to, compartmentalize the class to the point where you're giving a lot of instruction to a smaller group of people, you might as well just have 2 classes.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
I mean, essentially what you end up having is that advanced group and that smaller group. But, I think we would all agree as coaches, you can never get away from the fundamentals. So you're constantly, reinforcing mechanics and technique and all those things. But in that huge class model, like you were saying earlier, you don't get the opportunity to touch everybody and make sure that they're getting a true understanding of what you're asking them to do.
Right. Yeah. Completely agree.
And then, what else? As far as your staff is concerned, you mentioned continuing education. I'm super curious about this. What did you get out of the level 2?
We've actually gone twice.
Okay.
It's one of the best investments we've ever made.
Okay. From what why?
As far as coaching goes. I mean, they completely strip you down. Okay. And but not in a sense where you leave feeling like a terrible coach. I mean, they really give you good feedback, and you have to do some one-on-one coaching sessions with, other coaches are attending, so obviously they all know what they're doing, which makes it kind of tough to coach someone who already is moving so well. But you do some one-on-one sessions and they evaluate you, give you some feedback, and then we also do a group session where I have to teach everyone the med ball clean in a group of 10, and I have to, if you miss someone's hip opening, they're going to tell you, or if you communicated something incorrectly, they're going to tell you, and they evaluate the different ways that you coach. So making sure that you can verbally communicate well with people. You can also use tactile cues. You can also use visual cues. And we had some drills where they said, okay, you have to teach them push press with only tactile. You can't touch. You can't talk.
So they take you away from your comfort zone.
Yes.
Okay.
And so they just kind of expose all your weaknesses as far as coaching goes.
Because that's been a major critique of mine for not doing the level 2 is, and you've kind of dispelled all of it, but I was super curious how you get better at coaching when you're working with people who already know what they're doing.
Right.
And if that's the framework that they do it with, then I feel like that's really effective.
Yeah.
But if it's you, me, and the entire PHX staff, and it's like, okay, tell them how to snatch, and if they got 10,000 reps under their belt already, well, what are you going to tell them that's going to revolutionize their technique?
Right. Yeah, and they want you to be able to, beginners, figure out what's the one most important thing out of the 10 things wrong going on.
Right.
But then also, if you have Chris Spieler drop in, can you help him improve his snatch?
Right.
So that's a little intimidating, and but it's great. And they go over, we talk about programming, we talk about class management, how to run class. And one thing that I took away that was really great from that was actually sitting down every either night or morning before you go into class and writing up, minutes 0 to 6, we're at the board, minutes 6 to 10, we're doing this little mini warm up, and really completely planning out the entire class. And it runs so much smoother and gives you such a better idea of how to organize things and how to approach things, and if problems come up, how to address them. And they really go into every aspect of coaching one-on-one, running classes, running your gym, programming. And it's really eye-opening.
Yeah.
I think it's a really, really great investment.
Well, I mean, because, it can be really tough, especially in the very beginning when you're, just getting your feet wet in the coaching space to adequately fill, if you're running a 60-minute class model, all 60 minutes and keep it interesting.
Yes.
I've seen it go both ways with our interns when you kind of just give them enough rope to hang themselves and they either rush through the class and they're done in 40 minutes or they try to put too much into it and now you're running, 5-10 minutes over.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I'm very, very hard on them about is that class management piece and making sure that you start on time and you finish on time.
Yeah.
People got shit to do.
Oh yeah.
And you can't disrespect that.
Right.
So, and that's all stuff that comes from the top down.
Yep.
And if you don't make that a standard, then, a lot of stuff can go awry.
Yeah.
But going back to that whole level 2 thing, would you say that another point of efficacy as a coach is the ability to explain one thing 30 different ways?
Totally. And I took some notes before we came in here, and that was one of the things I was thinking about was, you have people who respond to only screaming in their face. You have people who, you almost need to go up and kind of whisper just one word to, and it's magical. And then other people need a video breakdown. Other people, it's, you need to actually push them into position. And you have to be able to conform to everyone's different style of what they respond to. So as a coach, you have to have all of those different tools.
Right. Even if it's not your deal, you have to have those tools available.
Yeah. Yep.
If you only coach to your strengths, there is a huge population of your members and the athletes that aren't going to get the attention they need or make the progress that they need to make as fast as they could make it.
Right.
Because you're so restrictive in your ability to coach.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that not everyone on your staff is a level 2 coach.
Or
are they?
My dad is, myself is, Tim is, Ashley is.
Okay.
And then we have 2 other coaches. One's mainly our kids coach, and then the other one is our on-ramp coach, and she hasn't done hers yet, but hoping sometime soon. But so almost everyone.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how do you go from your level 2 experience and drag that out of somebody who's not level 2 yet?
I think just
do you have a process for that in like coaching development, I guess?
Right. I think just I think communication is just such a big deal, and just making sure that if there are issues, talking to them about it. And thankfully our coaches are really receptive to anything we tell them. And we're lucky to have people on staff who research on their own. Right. We're very, very lucky. We've not had a lot of problems with any of our coaches. So, but we definitely have room to improve. Like we need to do more coaches meetings and, so there's always things we can improve on, but, we have really, really great staff.
Well, having a great staff, says a lot about the ownership, because very rarely have I seen it as I sit in, the owner space where if the, owner / head / programmer doesn't have high expectations of the staff, then, the box is run very rudimentary, and I'm such a box snob, not that everything needs to run the way PHX is run. we have a lot of members that make the trip across the pond down to Maui, and I always tell them to drop into Tom's box, Lahaina CrossFit, and they absolutely love the experience. And it's to the point now, I've only met Tom once at the Rock and Wad almost 4 years ago, and we have like this ongoing relationship now where it's like, oh yeah, there's this gym, blah blah blah, you know, and they just take care of us. You know, it's awesome. And you know, they, compared to our members' other travel experiences elsewhere, you know, they always come back and they say that, you know, Lahaina's run very similar to the way PHX is run. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's going to start on time. You know, it's going to be an awesome workout, and you know, you're going to be done on time so that you can plan around your workout. Right. You know, because CrossFitters are a different breed. Oh, yeah. You know, to the point, we have a member, John. He's so funny. I just sat down and had lunch with him and his wife the other day, and they do quite a bit of traveling. And she was like, I just want you to know, you have single-handedly ruined our travel experience. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, I want to get up in the morning, watch the sunrise over a glass of wine. He's up scrolling, looking for gyms. And I'm just like, you know, you can enjoy the glass of wine after the 6 a.m. class. The sun's not up just yet, you know? And so having reputable places that you know are going to have solid coaches, you know, is extremely important. For sure. You know? What do you look for as an athlete in the people that, you know, prescribe for you?
I think intelligent programming is such a big deal. You know, just making sure that you're not overtrained, undertrained, that you're filling in your weaknesses, and having, I don't know, just the communication again, you know, being able to actually get feedback from someone. And I think it's important for coaches to have a coach and have an extra eye. And, you know, even if you don't have a specific coach you're working with, to have, you know, I've got Tim helps me out a lot. I've got some of our members and friends too, you know, that give me a watchful eye.
Sure.
And, but yeah, kind of the same things as far as that goes.
Do you think people are apprehensive about critiquing your performance because you're a coach?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, if I ask for it, they'll definitely let me know, but I'm sure probably. And, I think of myself as very friendly and approachable, but I think to some people I might be a little intimidating. So I don't know. Yeah. But it's hard to say.
Yeah. What do you consider to be some of the mainstays in quote unquote intelligent programming? Or better yet, what's not intelligent programming? Because I feel like the easiest thing to do in the world is to create the shittiest workout on the planet.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think just when you're constantly feeling tired and beat down, that's not a good sign. And maybe doing some too much variety can be a bad thing, but also doing too much of the same thing can be a bad thing too. So it's like having that perfect blend of some consistency so that you can see improvements over time, but also sprinkling in those odds and ends so that you're always challenged and getting some varied programming in there. And just making sure, you know, you want to still keep your speed, your strength, but at the same time, sometimes it's good to do some bodybuilding type of stuff too. You know, it's just being open to all of that. And I think some CrossFitters and CrossFit coaches get so stuck in the CrossFit world where really it's like, you know, it's good to really get into Olympic lifting or powerlifting or gymnastics or bodybuilding. You know, we can't come down on any other type of training because really we're a part of all of it, you know, so you can't hate on anything else out there because we're trying to be good at it all.
Sure.
So
that's awesome. Yeah. That makes perfect sense. I've never heard anybody describe it that way before, and that kind of succinctly explains exactly why, you know, other communities should embrace CrossFit and, why CrossFitters should stop bashing these other communities.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like it's this reciprocal hate, where it's like, you're going, the bro sesh.
Yes.
And it's like a lot of people, especially people that, are moving more into that competitive space and looking at CrossFit for sport, and I think you really have to dive into, the connection of it all.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand that, your shoulder to overhead might suck because the upper deck of your chest is weak.
Yeah.
So, bench press might help you out.
Yeah.
And, you always hear the argument, especially in the CrossFit space, that bench press is not a functional movement. I'm like, well, technically, if it helps your functionality elsewhere, it is.
Yep. I totally agree.
But you have to, kind of expand your mind a little bit, expand your vision so that you can see how it all comes together.
Right.
Because like you said, if you eliminate that stuff, if you just focus on cycling the barbell,
right,
instead of cleaning up your technique and doing the, 85, 80, 90%, rep range, you're really shooting yourself in the foot because, if you're not proficient when it's heavy, you're going to be sloppy when you cycle.
For sure.
And that's just going to make you more tired. And you're going to shit the bed in these workouts.
Yeah. And that's like what you said earlier, is going back to basics, and that's, I think a lot of people overlook that too, and, perfect your air squat.
Yeah.
You've got to, and I think sometimes in class when we do work on that, some people just want to fall asleep, but it's like, everyone has room to improve their air squat. Even if you're still the strongest squatter in the gym, you can probably still improve just your basic air squat, and that's going to help out everything, and just getting those basics better is so important no matter what stage of the game you're at.
Right.
That's crazy because even talking about just going back to basics, I was watching, Mark Bell. He was working with Ben Smith and Ben Shaw, this powerlifter, super strong powerlifter. And so he was tweaking Ben Smith's deadlift technique, Ben Shaw was, and he's like, okay, what you're doing, you're leaning too far over the bar when you deadlift, sit back more into it. And like you see Ben Smith look at him like what the hell is this guy? But then he listened to his techniques and he's like, whoa, that felt easy, like that pull. It felt like I was pulling, 225 instead of pulling 405. I think it's interesting how you mentioned how each, modality breaks down, and you can you can use it in all areas of your fitness level and not just like staying in one area. I think that's what's important. A lot of times because you hear the bodybuilding community, because I came from bodybuilding community. Yeah. Then I contacted Durs one day, said, hey man, I'm a bodybuilder coming to CrossFit. I said, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I was like, I'm an open book, right? And so going into it, I always think like, man, I'm up here doing cycling 95 on a bar. Like, how in the hell is this going to help me? But then over time, I saw where I was very bad in my positioning, and I think CrossFit has helped me as far as understanding there's a different way of doing things instead of just this, the simple bicep curl, the single joint movements, and just understanding how your body can get back to an athletic state, but you can still put on a lot of size because coming from that background, you get fearful, like you hear, I'm going to get small being a CrossFitter.
Yes.
And I actually benefited more doing CrossFit in a year than I did in bodybuilding, because over time I was like, to me, it just blows my mind how it works. So, because I don't know. To me, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. I think that's such a big myth and misconception. And from the female side, all the women, it's like the guys think they're going to get small and girls think they're going to get huge, and that's like, if that's the case, I would look like you guys right now, and I definitely don't.
Right.
But, it's great for muscle building and, it's good hypertrophy training.
Yeah,
still.
It's very good.
Yeah.
And as a coach, do you find yourself like in areas where you may not be as strong in some area of coaching? Do you then look for coaches to surround yourself with in your gym or in your box that say, okay, they're strong in this area where I can learn from them? Or like, how do you do that? I guess you would say would be my first part of that question. And is there are there times where you find somebody like they have a similar interest as you, and you end up saying, okay, I like this coach because we have similar interests? Or are you always looking to fill in the gaps as a business owner or coach?
Probably a little bit of both, I would think. I'm a social media junkie. I mean, on everyone's channel that, deals with clean and jerk and snatch. And, I just looking at all of that stuff all the time, I think just to constantly expose myself to it, all the different like YouTube videos and stuff. It's just I'm always on top of that, which for me, I'm very visual, so that helps me a lot. And then the continuing education piece too, if I feel like a few years ago, I had always loved powerlifting, but I just didn't know a whole lot about it and, the details of it. And so we went to, with Louis Simmons for a weekend, and that was awesome.
West Side?
Yeah, that was one of the best weekends ever. That was really cool.
How raw is that gym?
Oh man, we were so scared walking in. That was one of the scariest days ever. And so we worked out with them, and their members in there, and Louis told me I had a weak ass and that I need to get that stronger. And but so I think just really exposing yourself and doing the things that make you super uncomfortable and nervous. And like even the level 2, I did not want to do it.
Really?
It scared me. Okay. I'm like, I don't want to go get critiqued by whoever these coaches are, top-notch HQ coaches. And, but that that totally got me out of my element. And that's what's made me grow so much is doing those uncomfortable things. So I think it's searching out other coaches, and then all the media that's out there has been a huge help for me too, and just researching. And I'm kind of geeky with that stuff, so I like to read on that stuff, watch on that stuff a lot, and study that. So
that's cool.
Nice. So outside of intelligent programming, how, like, if you had to create a ratio of how much time you spend on your strengths versus how much you spend on your weaknesses, where's that line?
For our programming, or me myself?
Yourself.
Probably about half and half.
Okay.
Because I like to feel good about my training, because that keeps me motivated, and doing things that I enjoy. But at the same time, I know I've got to work on those weaknesses, and seeing those improve is really fun as well. So probably half and half. Okay. I really like weightlifting, and I enjoy gymnastics, but I'm not very proficient, or not to where I'd want to be with those. But so they're fun to work on. And then conditioning too. I mean, if I could, I'd have a barbell in my hand every day, you know, but so I just try to work on all of it, and the little bits and pieces too. And I've been doing a little more like hypertrophy training, and trying to get a little more muscle mass on. And so it's been good. It's probably about half and half.
Are you and Caroline? Because for those of you guys who don't know, her baby sister coaches at PHX now.
Yep.
We stole her.
Yes, I know. I'm mad at you.
Are you guys following the same program?
Not right now.
Okay.
We were, but I haven't been lately. I've been actually kind of taking a break from things lately, and just kind of like resetting everything.
Focusing on your roller skate career?
Yeah, a little bit.
I see all your posts.
So, yes. So that's the learn and play new sports, right? So that's...
I would be terrified to get up on skates right now.
Oh, man. It was scary at first, and I've got a lot of respect for like skateboarders and people that do that stuff, and that's been really fun, and it's been cool to see my fitness applied to that.
Sure.
And a lot of the other people who skate in the ramps and bowls have been skating for years and years, and that's all they do. Or the girls who do it play derby as well, and I have no background in any of that. And it was cool to see how quickly I could do well. And I owe that all to CrossFit.
Sure.
So that was really cool to see, because I'm athletic as far as, you know, basketball and other sports. I can play decently well, but this was something totally different. Right. So, and I've really enjoyed it. It's fun. Feels like you're flying.
It's all about that GPP.
Yeah, for sure. It really is.
Physical preparedness. That's awesome. We, it's funny because sometimes, you know, as we go through the week, I'm like, Caroline is in love with that barbell.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, and I know you guys were, you know, awesome training partners back home. So I'm always curious if you guys are following the same thing via correspondence. And, she seems to be getting a lot of her engine work and her Metcon stuff, by jumping into our classes and stuff like that. And it's really awesome, her coming from instinct and, kind of seeing your philosophy filter over into how she coaches and integrated with our community so fast. Because she's probably, she is. She's the only coach I have on staff that didn't go through our internship process.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I knew where she was coming from.
Yeah, that's awesome.
She was vetted. And she's been an amazing addition to our team. And I think that speaks a lot to, you as, a training partner, a mentor, an owner, in her development as a coach. So it's extremely important, and Caroline's development is a test of this, that, you set those high expectations and you take the time to coach your coaches and, the ones that are worth keeping around have a lot of self-drive and show a lot of initiative in terms of their education and stuff like that. Like, I can't tell you how many times our staff, blindsided me with questions about, have you seen, what Ben Bergeron's doing, or, have you read the latest article by Cressy? And I'm always super impressed, because I'm not as up to speed as I am on that stuff. I mean, they're knee deep in all of it.
Yeah, that's great.
And I'm like, no, well, tell me what you got out of that article. And then we turned what started as probably a yes or no question turns into 30 minutes of dialogue. And one of the biggest things that I've taken in terms of coaching and programming and stuff like that is there's always a different way. Oh yeah. And you can't you can only subscribe to your way for so long. Before you have to start, as effective as it may be, it's always good to stay up on what I would consider the greats are doing, because practice is always ahead of studies. And if you're waiting for, the latest and greatest in the journal of strength and conditioning to come out to incorporate that into your stuff, you're always going to be behind. So if you look at the guys that are, spitting out the game's athletes left and right, incorporating some of their methodology into what you're currently doing that's effective, and just adding to the effectiveness, it just makes you that much better of a coach. When you let pride get in the way, or ego, and you're not open and receptive to other ways of doing things, and it's not so much that they're more effective, they're just effective in a different way. And that's how you stimulate adaptation, right?
Going back to one of your original questions about things that I would change is kind of along those lines. And, I used to be so hardwired of, this is the way you set up for a deadlift, or this is the way you do whatever, and it's like, we always tell our coaches now, there's not a certain way to do anything. There's all different kinds of ways out there. So you kind of have to be careful when you're coaching and be able to adapt to all of that, because I can't think of a great example of this, but new things come out all the time, and you have to be able to kind of like shut your ego down and say, okay, maybe I was wrong with the way that I taught this, or the way that I coached this, and that's, I think anyone who's been a trainer or coach, you go through those first few years and you look back and it's like, oh man, I could have really done so much better, or been more open to things.
I think a good quality for a coach to have is that element of humility, because it's not that you're dumb, or that you were doing things wrong. You've just expanded your toolbox, and we're gonna do things better. Right. Like for example, when somebody sets up for a clean, there's what the book says, but then you have somebody who's, 5'2" and really short from knee to hip, and then you have somebody who's 6'3" and really long from knee to hip. Well, those setup positions are totally different. That long guy is going to have his ass way high in the air compared to, the tinier athlete who can pretty much pull from a squat.
Right.
And if you stick to what the book says, you'll never be able to bridge that gap and coach either athlete effectively, because she sets up too deep and he sets up too high. So if you're not, immersing yourself in, the technical variety of how to coach, you're always going to have gaps in your stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So it's cool that, you take such pride in what you do as a coach, that, your continuing education is an expectation of your coaches. If you're not furthering your education, you're killing yourself. And ultimately your athletes are the ones who are going to suffer for it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think as a coach, exposing yourself to all those different things too, I think it's good to play with different programming and follow different people's programming every once in a while, mix that up, try out different nutrition programs, because it's not a one size fits all. So the more you can expose yourself, the better, and like I've done a powerlifting program, I've done a hypertrophy only program that's just it's basically bodybuilding, and I've done conditioning heavy, I've done, and it's just, and it's not fun, but it really opens your horizons. And same thing with nutrition, you've got to go through doing only paleo, you've got to go through the zone, you've got to go through macro, there's so many different things out there, but I think it's important for the coaches to go through that themselves so that you can better understand what your clients are going through.
So let me ask you this on the programming side, because I was actually just talking with somebody about it the other day, because in the workout, in our strength portion, it was a series of build up, and then we topped out at 85%. Right. And one of my members comes up to me. He's like, I PR'd today. And I said, oh, why?
Yeah.
He's not brand new, so he had numbers in the system and everything. And I was like, why? And me and him have developed a pretty close relationship, and I had to let him have it.
Yeah.
And I was like, you have to follow the program.
Yeah.
If you follow it, when I tell you to PR, you're going to PR.
Yep.
Now your numbers are skewed.
Yeah.
And when I ask you to test again, which is going to be in a couple of weeks, you may or may not hit your numbers. You got to stick to the script. And you talk about, adding variety to your programming. How long, try in an attempt to be the best CrossFitter you can be, how long do you follow a certain program before you switch it up? Because you see all these people that program hop, and they're like, oh, I like this today, and then I'm going to do this today, and then, oh, PHX is doing something cool, so let's do that.
Yeah.
Or they sprinkle their own shit on top of it.
Yes.
And it just ends up stunting their growth altogether.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of navigate those waters in terms of programming and improving your performance at the same time?
For myself?
And then for your athletes as well.
For myself, I don't know. I mean, I don't switch often. And I kind of know, the longer you stick with something, the more results you're going to see. So, like the bodybuilding cycle was 19 weeks, you know, and that's a long time for some people to stick to one thing. And same thing with, I did an Olympic lifting cycle and a gymnastics cycle, and that was probably almost a year long working on that, and I think if you're going to commit to some type of programming, it can't just be like you said, this week I'm going to do SEAL Fit, and then next week I'm going to do PHX, or do a little bit of both each day. And that's what we've seen with our members too, is the people who come in and just do class and they're consistent with coming to class and do it well. Those are our best athletes. And the people who mix it up a little bit, or, come in and do a 2 a day with something else thrown in there, it's okay. They see some improvements, but not like when people follow the program 100%, it's magical. And when they come in, we design it so it's a 5-day-a-week program. And the people who come in and do 5 days a week just benefit so much from it and really grow. And it's cool because we do have that core group of athletes who do that, and they're our best athletes in the gym.
Right on. Yeah.
So
it's interesting.
Yeah.
We go back and forth about the whole programming thing all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Because, and it's challenging for us as coaches as well, because, we know so much, and sometimes you can fall victim to your education and experience where you try to out program the work, and you can only get so sciencey about stuff.
Right.
Before, sometimes it just comes down to putting something dirty together and just doing it.
Yep.
And going back to what you were talking about earlier, having a coach is extremely important because, using a medical analogy, doctors don't diagnose themselves.
Right.
And if you fall victim to your own programming, inevitably you're going to, you said your ratios were about 50-50 right now, working with other people's programming, right? Inevitably you're going to swing that pendulum, 70-30, 75-25 and play to your strengths.
Yes.
And it's just like, well, fuck it. I haven't done burpees in a long time, so I'll just go ahead and drop those in today.
Yeah.
And then you start working with this hopper method that doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah. I've tried to do my own programming before, and a lot of people, I've written a blog post on this a long time ago, like, because I'd get, we get members, they're like, did you do this workout too? And I'm like, well, no, I've done hundreds of workouts similar to this, but I don't follow the class programming most of the time. Sometimes I do, but usually not, because we write it. And when you write your own programming, it's just like you said, you either start to play into your own weaknesses or your own strengths, or you start to move things around a little bit. And it's really hard to be your own coach. And it's like, I've got a lot of respect for anyone who is successful at being their own coach. Like some of the games athletes who say they don't have a coach, that blows my mind.
Sure.
And, because I either will go towards all weakness training, which then starts to mess with your ego, or then you go to all strength training, and that's not good either, know, and following your own stuff is really, really hard. I think it's best to have it in someone else's hands for sure. For me, at least.
No, I completely agree. The people that are out there that say that they do it all on their own, that's a special breed of person that is so centered that the variety, their strengths and their weaknesses are all trained simultaneously so that they get they stimulate progress, and that's a very tough dynamic to establish. I would go as far as to say it's almost impossible.
I agree.
To do it effectively day in and day out. It's just really hard because you'll inevitably start telling yourself lies, and then you'll start believing those lies because you'll stick to what you're comfortable with, or let's say you're not the best at muscle ups, you'll still program muscle up workouts that make you feel good about your muscle ups. So you're going to do, a 10-minute AMRAP of 3 reps,
right?
Which you can string together with no problem, but you wouldn't dare program 7.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think if you're going to go that route, you need to be prepared to be completely honest with yourself.
Yes.
But, if you want to err on the side of caution, get somebody else to do it.
Yep.
Like when Thatcher and I train here at the gym, we have enough in common that we can push each other. Yeah. But I'm just a little bit stronger than he is in a lot of things, and his engine is way better than mine. So it makes for a great training session, even if we write the workout together. It's still going to suck for the both of us. Like both of us aren't going to look at that board and be like super pumped to do the workout. It's just like, man, that's going to suck. And he's standing over there like, yeah, that's going to be terrible, you know?
That's what you need.
Yeah. You know, so like if it comes down to, you know, just programming with a partner, you know what I mean? It's always good to have somebody that isn't your doppelganger.
Yes.
You know, so that you guys can push each other, you know, in the ebb and flow of a workout where, you know, if so-and-so is, you know, really dominant in gymnastics and not awesome at the barbell, you know, you're keeping pace with each other because, you know, you might be awesome on the barbell and terrible at gymnastics. So the pace of the workout still remains the same. You know?
That was why I loved like training with Caroline. Like she's so great with the barbell and I'm a little more comfortable with gymnastics than she is. So we totally would kind of play off of each other there, and we'd always be close to each other on workouts, but by totally different approaches, you know, and she's the more unbroken type of an athlete, you know, where all kind of like plan things out and play into
very systematic.
Yes. So I think it's really good to have, and that's another thing as a coach. A lot of times you can't work out with classes. If you can, that's awesome. Like to have that group environment, but like to have a workout partner is nice because usually you can find someone like that that's not quite the same as you to help push you and develop you as an athlete.
Totally. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So real quick before we move on out of here today, I know you're pressed for some time. We want to end the show with tell us one thing that you do to feed yourself every day, mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever, and one thing that you do to fuel yourself every day.
Okay. I am into like a lot of spirituality stuff, kind of like you are too, like the manifestation,
the secret,
positive mindset. Yes. And Doreen Virtue is someone that I follow, and she's I'd say she's more spiritual, but it almost comes across as religious. I don't think I'm a super religious person, but more spiritual. And she puts out a little daily piece of advice where she kind of like taps into energy around her and puts out kind of what the worldly energy of the day is, and you kind of need what you can do to maximize that. Yeah. And so I start my day every day by checking that. Like I've got my phone while I'm in bed and read that and kind of get my mind set for the day on how to approach it and what to do based off of kind of what she felt the energy of the day was.
Okay.
And, so that's one thing that I like to do that kind of gets my head in the right space. And then I would probably say, I don't know. I really try to get in a lot of like nutrients as far as like the food side of things goes. To fuel myself would be just eating whole foods, and I take Juice Plus, a lot of Juice Plus. And I think that's really made a big difference in my health over the years since I've been taking that, and it's just flooding your body with fruits and vegetables basically. And I think that's goes really well with everything. I mean, it keeps your mind clear, keeps your body clear. So it kind of goes hand in hand with the whole spirituality thing too. So
yeah. Keeps you in the right space.
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then before we get out of here,
yeah,
where can our community follow you and support you on anything that you're doing, whether it's your gym, personal?
Sure. We're on Facebook, CrossFit Instinct. We're on Instagram as CrossFit Instinct. And then myself, I'm on Instagram. It's Molsuh, MOLSUH 52. And I just post all kinds of fun things on there. But yeah, that's where we're at as far as our social media goes, and really enjoy it.
You guys are still pushing that huge community initiative right now, right?
Yeah. We
tell us a little bit more about that.
We wrapped up. This was probably, when was I out here? That was a couple of months ago. We just finished that. So we're about to start that up soon. We did what was called Operation Change Springfield. And so we tried to my goal was to get 300 people to sign up for this email group and Facebook page group where I sent out about 3 email newsletters a week just about health, fitness, nutrition, lifestyle. and it was for anyone and everyone. And we ended up exceeding those goals quite a bit. And we got a pretty big subscription list and follower group. And my goal was to just get Springfield to become a more health-minded community. And so we're excited to get that up and rolling again, and got some really good feedback from that. And we did some videos with that, which were a lot of fun, and worked with the social media on that too. And that was really cool. And I hadn't seen anyone do anything like that before, where, they're really trying to change town. And that was the whole goal. And I did get some really good feedback from that. And some people, that I didn't even know. I don't know how they even found out about it, but that, didn't do any fitness or anything, but started walking, and hadn't even ever tried that before, and it was just cool to get this feedback from people. And, because sometimes I know you guys probably feel the same with social media. You do all this work, put stuff out there, don't hear anything, but then you get that one person that comes in and they're just like, man, that video really resonated with me and completely changed things. And I had one of our clients showed it to his whole family, and now they're all on board with cutting sugar out and trying to eat as clean as possible. And it's just really cool to see it trickle outside of our community into people's families and homes. And
that's awesome.
That was really a rewarding experience for sure.
Well, cool.
So.
That's, good for you guys.
Yeah.
That's a huge initiative, a huge undertaking, and I'm glad to see that it was well received.
Yeah.
And that people are actually heeding that advice and, taking it and applying it. So that's awesome. Good on you guys.
Good job.
Yeah, thanks. That was fun.
Totally. Well, appreciate you joining us.
Thanks
today.
for having me.
Yeah,
This was great.
Yeah, totally spur of the moment. We had to get you on while, I had to steal you away from your family for a little bit so that we could get you on the show. For you guys listening, thanks for letting us join you on your journey. And, by all means, check out the show notes and leave comments and let us know if there's any topics that we can tackle. Nothing's too big, too far out of reach. We'll make it happen. And you can follow us on every platform out there at Feed Me, Fuel Me. And, if you want to reach out to us personally, you can just shoot us an email at info@feedmefuelme.com. And again, thanks for letting us join you on your journey, and we will see you next week. Thanks a lot.
And that's a wrap, crew. We really hope you enjoyed this episode with our guest, Molly Suhadolnik. If you want to check out the show notes and get connected with Molly and us, please go check out feedmefuelme.com. Also, be sure to connect with us on social media, including Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter at feedmefuelme. We would love to hear from each and every one of you. If you found this episode inspiring in any way, please rate, comment, share, and subscribe so we can continue on this journey together. Also, be sure to share it with your friends and family on social media, including Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter, or any other social platforms that you use. We really appreciate you spending your time with us today and allowing us to join you on your journey. We would love to hear your feedback on this episode, as well as guests and topics for future episodes. We would love to leave you with a quote today by Timothy Galway. Coaching is unlocking a person's potential to maximize their performance. It is helping them learn rather than teaching them. Thank you again for joining us, and we will catch you on the next episode.